Welcome back to the Hoops Lounge. My name is Marc Griffin, aka Montreal Mark, and we are the show where Sam Bowie and Joel Embiid are eternal soulmates. This week on the show, we'll be discussing the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are the epicenter of the NBA universe with the upcoming NBA draft, where they have the #1 pick, as well as everything else concerning the hiring of the first European coach in NBA history, in David Blatt. I'm joined by my partner in crime, Sporting Phil Boileau, and we have special guest, hired gun, Justin Rowan, who's a Cleveland Cavs writer at SB Nation on the site fearthesword.com. Welcome aboard, guys.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for having me back. This time I got a little more lighting on my face, so it's good. I'm not the TSN insider there with the darkness covering me.
Justin, I'm going to throw this to you first. A foot was broken last week. What were the repercussions in Cleveland?
Well, people were disappointed, I'll give you that. A lot of Cavs fans were pretty sad. I mean, when you consider the centers they've passed on in the past 3 years, you got Jonas Valanciunas, Noel, Andre Drummond. People were looking at Embiid, and obviously he's more, or I shouldn't say obviously, but he appears to be more talented than those guys. Really high ceiling. But at the same time, there was some relief in that news came out before the draft, so they didn't draft a guy with a broken foot. And B, there's another prospect, an elite prospect in Andrew Wiggins, which obviously I'm pretty excited about.
I think we all are. Phil, you love to play GM, and I'm wondering if you were David Griffin, who's not related to me, by the way, what would you do in this situation?
It'd be tough for me. I know the owner wants to win right now, so I think you have to go with Wiggins. Like to me, I'm hearing a lot of Jabari Parker as well, but I think Wiggins makes the most sense just because he brings the defense. And when you have that backcourt as it stands with Waiters and Kyrie Irving, they can score the ball. In their front court, Thompson, Bennett make it work. They can score the ball as well, so they really need defense. And I think that was the big thing with Embiid. He's able to block shots. Now, they're going to have to address that either way, but I think you don't take a shot at just going for an offensive player. I think you really need to bring a surefire defensive player right here. I think you have to go Wiggins. I'm not just saying that for the Canadian factor. I think if the owner wasn't so needing to win right away, I might still sit on Joel because I think he's going to be that good. But I think because they need to win right now, Kyrie's, that contract situation is going to get some big money. I think they need to go Wiggins, and I don't think you trade it. I think it would just be a mistake to trade out of that unless you think that the Milwaukee Bucks will not take Wiggins and you want to get some assets. Because if you think he will not take Wiggins and you can trade him for, like, I know all the garbage is going through, but like a Larry Sanders or John Henson to be that shot blocker and still land Wiggins, something like that makes sense. But you can't walk away from this draft without Wiggins or Embiid, and I think you got to go that way.
Justin, I mean, the big question a lot of people are talking about, conversation is, Wiggins has this high potential, whereas Parker, you kind of know what you get. He's very refined as a player, but he doesn't have that ceiling that Wiggins has. I mean, which would you rather be with? I mean, I know you're a fan of Wiggins, but I mean, what would you do?
Here's the thing. I do like Jabari Parker as well. He's a terrific scorer. He's got all the talent in the world on the offensive side of the floor. If you look at his college stats, it's almost identical if you put him side by side to Carmelo Anthony. So that's kind of what type of player you're looking at here. But when people say Jabari Parker is the win-now type player, you're completely discounting the importance of the defensive side of the floor. He is an abomination on that side of the floor. He plays at the power forward position, at least he did in college. He certainly has the athleticism and the shot making to play the three in the NBA on offense. On defense, he'd get torched. So, I mean, unless if he's hitting at like a 60% clip, he's not really going to be helping you win so much as just putting up points and highlight plays. Now, I do think Milwaukee's the perfect situation for him because you do have a Larry Sanders and a Giannis Antetokounmpo at the small forward position. So you got those three together. They're going to make up for a lot of what he lacks on offense or on defense. And I think he'd be the scoring punch they need. But I think Wiggins, I mean, it's not like the guy can't score. He's the leading freshman scorer in Kansas basketball history, 17 points per game. He's got a nice shot. He just needs to work on his consistency. I think Wiggins is a clear pick.
I got to speak to that for a second because I believe they're not counting Wilt Chamberlain because back in the day they weren't freshmen were not allowed to play varsity ball, so you have to keep that in consideration. Phil, I'm going to throw this back to you. A lot of changes in Cleveland. Like I mentioned at the top, David Blatt is being brought in and his Princeton-style offense. I mean, what do you think? Is this going to translate well to the NBA?
I mean, I think there's a lot of people who do their homework, who understand a guy like this, understands he's had a lot of success overseas, and he brings a great basketball mind. I mean, depending on how you want to think of him, the European Greg Popovich, and especially with the Spurs' success and longevity. I think it's going to be interesting only because of the players that are already there. Guys like Dion Waiters and Kyrie Irving, to me, are less system guys than their front court. I think guys like Thompson and Bennett would fit in right away. I just think that you would have to shuffle a bit down the road. I think there's going to be success, and I think bringing in young blood or some new blood is a good idea in the NBA. So I think it's going to be success either way. It's just you have to think, is this team best set for a Princeton offense when most of these guys seemingly are up and are run-and gun style? I mean, I don't know. I just think it fits, but is Dion Waiters part of their future because of this?
I got to give a quick shout out to Moda Elb, who's over in, I think he's in Switzerland right now, International Moda Mystery. He was in Milan, Italy 2 weeks ago, and he got to see David Blatt coach in the Euro Championships. He basically told me, he got to speak to him as well, and he wrote a piece on HoopsLounge.com about it. He basically said that he had an inferior team, but a superior mindset, and he built a chemistry around. He played for Princeton actually 30 years ago. He was their point guard. He's been kind of using a version of their offense for a long time now. So doing that in Europe, bringing that back to America where he grew up, it's going to be a really interesting transition for him. Justin, do you think he's going to be able to do this, and who do you think he's going to bring in to kind of bring it all together?
Well, for the assistant coaches, because there is obviously going to be a transition going to the NBA. I mean, you're playing 2 games a week in Europe. You're playing a lot more than that in the NBA, so rotations, stuff like that, that's going to change. Some of the names I've heard for assistants, Vinny Del Negro has been mentioned, Tyronn Lue, who was the other finalist for the head coaching position. As far as whether or not the offense will work, it's a Princeton-style offense, so it's not a pure Princeton offense. A lot of movements, backdoor cuts and that, and while it is structured, they're coming from a slower pace structured offense under Mike Brown. So this is going to feel like the restrictor plates are coming off a little bit. And as far as the fit with Dion Waiters, if they draft Andrew Wiggins, I think there's a really high likelihood that Waiters or Thompson gets moved this summer. There's some concern about how having 3 guys that are going to have fairly high usage rates in Irving, Wiggins, and Waiters. They might look to re-sign C.J. Miles, someone that can space the floor, plays decent defense, and put him next to Irving and Wiggins. But I think it's going to work, but there's definitely going to be a transition period.
Phil, I'm going to throw the last one to you. Who do you think Cleveland's going to bring in this summer in free agency to help bulk up this roster?
I'm going to weirdly go, it's not going to be a popular pick, but I always swing for the fences, and I'm weirdly going to say Chris Bosh.
Ooh.
I'm going to think...
No.
I don't know. I'm just thinking they have to retool a little bit there in Miami, and I can't see them chopping other guys. I don't know. If we're talking free agency now, if we're talking trades, that's something else. But I mean, a guy like Kevin Love's been mentioned, but I'm going to swing for the fences and put Kevin Love just because no one's talking. I mean, sorry, Chris Bosh, because no one's talking about him.
Well, the Cavs are certainly a reality TV show, and we're going to get into free agency in our next segment. But I wanted to thank you guys both, and we'll see you soon in the lounge.